Hello, my Edu family. Welcome to Strategy Sunday. It is the final presentation in the month of Jubilant July. And this Sunday, we have with us Mrs. Tamarie Johnson-Williams, who is a guidance counselor and counseling psychologist at the Northern Caribbean University as a lecturer in the Department of Teacher Education. She will be sharing with us some insightful tips on how it is that as educators within our classrooms, we can build relationships, we can engage families through the SEL, social emotional learning theory, to improve students' performance and also to improve what we do within our school walls to reach the communities of children whom we have in our classroom. Let's have her.
Hello. For this presentation, we're going to be looking at engaging families through SEL, the importance of building relationships. In our last presentation, we looked at how the classroom teacher can utilize SEL strategies in their classroom. And for today's presentation, we're going to be looking at the importance of building relationships and engaging families in our SEL program. SEL at home. When we consider the 5 components of SEL as educators, it is essential that we envision how our students can continue to learn and master these skills while they are at home. So as a classroom teacher, you would have put things in place to ensure that your students are socially and emotionally competent, that they're able to empathize, that they're able to handle their emotions, to express how they're feeling, and of course, to give of service. So you've set things up and your students are on their way. But how can you ensure that what you're doing at school is also being carried out at home and that reinforcement and that partnership is taking place? For this presentation, that is what we'll be looking at. Our present reality, aka the pandemic, forces us to place more emphasis on the role that the home or the family plays in helping our students to become competent in all of the facets of social, emotional learning. So we do not have the students in the classroom as we normally would because they're learning from home. We're teaching them via the computers, via the internet. And so we have to ensure that the partnership with the school and the home is so built that we are continuing the learning and we're continuing SEL in a seamless fashion in spite of the fact that we're functioning in a pandemic. The home is the first school. This is where our students learn quite a bit of what they will need for school. According to Ellen G. White, the family shall be the greatest of all educational agencies. It is in the home that the education of the child is to begin. And so we understand that the home plays a very crucial role in the education of our students. School and family are the two fundamental educational institutions, and therefore it is necessary that they collaborate. Very important that they collaborate. We look at how we as teachers can involve the parents, involve the families of our students to make the transition from school to society a seamless one by the values that are taught to them at home. Engaging families. Teachers can help take SEL beyond the classroom by communicating with students' families to encourage reinforcement of SEL lessons at home. We can help the parents to continue to help to build the students up, to help them to become more competent at expressing themselves, at making making decisions, of controlling their emotions, of regulating their emotions, and of course, learning cooperation and empathy. Of course, they would be exposed to some amount of empathy at home, especially those children who have siblings. To build on the work of schools, Families should think about social emotional learning, or SEL, as an all-day idea rather than as a strategy to manage a singular stressful behavior or situation. So SEL should be something that is incorporated in everyday activities, the everyday interaction between the family and the child. And understanding the components of SEL will also help the parents to make wiser decisions and to be deliberate with certain things that they do and how they interact with their children, the kind of activities that they engage them in from on a day-to-day basis. When parents learn more about their school's SEL initiative, it helps them to adopt practices at home that reinforce what their child is learning in school. And it is important for us as teachers to have information sessions with the parents so they can understand the objectives and the goals of SEL and the components. So, and also to empower them with the kind of skills that they would need and the equipment that they would need, the resources they would need so that they can continue this SEL initiative even in their home, in their while they're eating at the dinner table, while they're playing cards on a Friday evening, Saturday evening, whatever it is that they're doing, when they're having family worship, whatever they're doing together as a family, they continue the elements, they continue to look at the different components, and they continue to build on the foundation that would have been set already in the SEL program at the school. The reason for educators and families to collaborate is to enhance learning opportunities, educational progress, and school success for students. And as was established in our last video, when children are engaged in a SEL program, it also helps them to be competent academically, but not just academically. Takes them beyond the academics and helps them to become more socially aware and more competent at making good decisions, and of course, being able to resist peer pressure and be aware of who they are and how their emotions and their actions affect others. And of course, being able to empathize with others who may be going through a difficult situation. Now, families are equal partners in attaining educational goals for students, and this is something that is essential for us to understand as educators. We cannot, in any shape or form, leave the families out. They are partners. They help to ensure that the students do their homework, do their activities. They help to ensure the students are bringing their resources to school that they need for learning, and that their students are learning basic manners, basic ethics that they would have learned at home that will carry over into our classroom. Therefore, family school interactions focus on what each partner can do to improve the development and learning of the student. So we are partners, the school and the family. We are partners in ensuring that the students are competent in managing their emotions and making good decisions. And of course, being individuals that can relate to others and can serve others, and of course can be a support to their classmates and their colleagues, and ultimately be an asset to society. Collaboration has a positive impact on student learning. A student who is aware that his or her parents, they're interested in their learning, they come to school, they want to find out what's happening, they reach out to the teacher, they ensure the homework is done. When students see this kind of collaboration, they see the parents are paying interest in their learning, it will be a source of encouragement for that student as well. And of course, it will help with student learning. Teachers should include parents when addressing concerns about student learning. Oftentimes, we tend to want to work in vacuums, but as teachers, we cannot work in vacuums. We have to incorporate the families because ultimately, they're the ones that's going to continue what you would have done in the day at school. And if they're not on the same page as you, that can make your job even harder as the teacher. It's important that we collaborate, that we include the parents. We ask them questions. We find out things that they only would know about their child so that we can best serve the students and tailor our programs to the students' needs and preferences. So some ways that we can engage families in SEL, and I'm going to be highlighting 5 ways that we can do that as educators And then further on in the presentation, I'm going to be sharing with the families some things that they can do to continue the SEL program at home. So to engage families in SEL, teachers shouldn't just send home to-do lists. We need to create relationships with the families, provide opportunities to get to know the family, get to know them. There are different activities that teachers can set up in order to get to know the families. We can conduct surveys at the beginning of the school term to get us a sense of who the family is, what the structure of the family is, what are some of the realities that would affect our students. We can have the parents come in for a classroom tour at the beginning of the school term before the students actually get there. We can facilitate questions and concerns that they may have, to know them, find out more about them. You may have an immigrant family, you may have a family that has special requirements, special needs for their children, suggestions that they could give to you to improve their students' experience. Bring them in before classes begin, show them what's available. Even in the case where they may not be able to come in physically, you can set up a virtual classroom. There are different ways to do it. Have an open house. During the school term, you can have them come in. Even before school begins, you can have them come in and share and get to understand the layout of the classroom, the layout of the school. Share with them the objectives that you have for the school term. And of course, the traditional phone call. Call the parents, get to know them, find out things about them. And one of my favorite educators, Ron Clark, in a movie that was done to feature his life, one of the things that he did before he even began setting up his classroom rules or getting to know his students, he went to the homes and got to know the parents. So get to know the families, find out who they are and you're going to be having in front of you in your classroom for the next year or so. Invite families to generate SEL goals for their children. What are some SEL skills and characteristics that they want their child to personify? Find out. What are some strengths that their children naturally have? What are some areas that they would like for you, the teacher, to help them to sharpen? Find out. Help them to set these goals, because these are the same goals that they're going to be building on when they are at home. Have the students set their own SEL goals. What are some concerns that they have? Are there some areas of weakness that they think that they would probably need to sharpen? Get them involved. Because by getting them involved, just like we said in the last presentation, you're setting your classroom rules, you want to have the students involved. It's a similar concept. Get the family involved when you're setting up your social emotional learning goals for their children. Because they would know the children. They live with them every day, right? And the reality is sometimes the person that we have in front of us, the kind of personality that students display before us may not be the same thing that they display when they're at home. So we get to know them from both sides by getting to know the families and have them involved in setting these social emotional learning goals. Designate a liaison. Now, this is something that is usually done on a school-wide from the administrator's perspective. Having a designated staff member, somebody who is there to supervise and to help to coordinate the SEL program. Now, in having this particular liaison, this set person, the family understands that there's somebody that they can speak with to help them with evaluation, to help them with making sure that the program is going according to plan, to ensure that they're meeting the goals that they would have set from early on in the school term. This designated staff member is not just there on the school's behalf, but they're there on the family's behalf. They're serving as a go-between, almost as a bridge. They're bridging that gap that may exist. And they are individuals who the family can consult with for further guidance and further direction. Of course, questions and concerns that they may have. Of course, you as a classroom teacher, you can of course decide that that's a role that you want to fill personally. But other than that, there can be somebody specifically designated to serve as a liaison between the family and the school. And this is a good asset for you as the school, as a teacher, because this the family will feel assured that they know they have somebody they can always turn to for questions and concern without any feeling of being judged, right? Create a resource center for your families. No, this resource center does not necessarily have to be something physical. However, this designated space signals to parents that they are welcome at the school and that the school values their role in their children's development. So they know that you're not just talking, but you're actually walking the talk. You're backing up your words with action. You give them a sense of belonging, and this is important for the family. Ideally, this should be a physical space. However, you may also use a website. And the space that we're operating in, more than likely, we're going to be using a website. And it's more accessible for those parents who would not be able to come in physically to the school. They can always go on the website to get resources that are related to social emotional development. They can continue with the program at home. They may have booklets and other resources that they can access, activities that they can access, that they can use readily without having to come into the school physically. So having a resource center set up is awesome because it's a parent resource center that they can use to help to continue the SEL initiative in their homes, in their everyday activities. Plan ongoing SEL initiatives. Now, as teachers, we have to figure out how we can capitalize on opportunities throughout the school year where parents can learn more about SEL. So you may have situations where you may have parents coming in for PTA or parent teacher conferences. You can make contact with them. You can check in on them, how things are going. If they come for their child's recitals or pageants, or they come into, you have like a designated grade or form meeting. You can check in on them. You can provide for them additional resources. You can find out how things are going. You may be able to ask questions or give them handouts, additional literature, whatever it is that they may need to improve and to support the SEL initiative at home, right? We want to make sure that we capitalize on these situations because, of course, the parents are more than likely going to be working parents, and so they may not be able to come in as often. So if you know that there's something designated for them to be there, then you can capitalize on that, right? And of course, you can always use technology and have ongoing initiatives through groups, individual conversations, whatever it is, based on what needs may arise. Here are some things that a family can do at home. What can a family do? Families can use their everyday interactions to build critical competencies that will aid children throughout their day. So you're at the dinner table. What are some things you can do? Is there a conflict that comes up in the family? How do you handle it? Let's find out what are some things that the family can do to continue social and emotional learning at home. So the first thing you can do as families is to focus on your child's strengths. Instead of looking at what the child is not good at and the areas the child is weak on, focus on the child's strength. For example, the child may take home a report card. Instead of looking at what areas the child did not do too well in, focus on the areas the child excelled in. Even if it's not academic, let us say it's something that the child was the best greeter for that month or for that term, then you focus on that. You build the child up. Because by doing this, what you're doing for the child is showing the child that he or she has the capacity to do well. And by focusing on the positive first, you're setting the child up in such a way that he feels encouraged and empowered. And so he feels that even though I have this weak area, because I've done so well in this particular area, I can improve. And there is hope. So by doing that, you're helping your child. At home, if you have given your child a task to do and they've made the effort, even if it's not perfect, if it's the first time they're doing it, for example, they're just learning how to make their bed or they're just learning how to wash the dishes. Let's just say they did not do it perfectly, but they tried, then you encourage them and you continue to teach them the correct way. So by doing this, you're encouraging them. If you find that your child is more inclined to doing one activity over the other, then you want to encourage that as well. So focus on your child's strengths, not to be negative, but try as best as possible to be positive. Number two, use visual aids to help your child to plan, especially when it comes on to things like daily chores. You want to make sure that you have something visual, because having a visual aid, a visual plan, a visual check sheet, that can also help the child to feel that, okay, they can see something. For example, a daily check sheet or a daily chore chart like this one, they're able to see what they're supposed to do and they're able to check off what they would have done daily. You can provide stickers, you can, as a parent, you can create different versions of this. But by using visual aids, one, it's colorful, so it's child friendly, it's encouraging, and it's something that you can put up as a display that you can use in a stationary part in the child's room or somewhere in the house for the child to always check off and ensure that they're following. And in doing this, you're encouraging them. Say the child finished the task, you can assign a sticker, a smiley face, whatever works for you, right? So use visual aids to help your child to make plans. Also, you could even have them create a little timetable or a little one of the best things that I think you can do for the child is to have them do like a vision board. Vision boards are great. So for this year or for this month or for this week, whatever the time period is, have them cut pictures out or print pictures and paste them on their vision board, things that they want to accomplish, things they want to do. And this would be a good visual reminder to help them with their plans. You can also set emotional goals. Okay, very good. Then, of course, ask about feelings. Ask the child about how he or she is feeling. It's important. We established that children want you as the adult, especially as parents, to understand how they feel. We spoke about tantrums and how sometimes children throw tantrums because they're not able to really verbalize how they're feeling. So just as we would have as a teacher set up vocabularies and empower them by giving them the right kind of vocabulary to express their feelings, as a family, as parents, you have to give them that safe space that they feel they can express themselves. They can tell you how they feel in a respectful way, of course. But it's important that avenue is provided for them. Ask them how they're feeling. Ask them how their day was. Ask them why they think they're feeling the particular way that they're feeling in that moment. And in doing this, you're empowering the child. You're helping them to become aware of how they're feeling. You're helping them to put a face to the emotion, as we mentioned in our last presentation. And it's very important that you empower them so that they know how to express how they feel. And they shouldn't be afraid to tell you, the parent, how they are feeling, because they should feel safe and feel that they indeed can express their feelings. So ask them how they are feeling. Show your children how you calm down. Let us say, for example, as a parent, you find yourself getting upset, you're angry about something. If you demonstrate or model for the child how they can calm down and how you calm down, how you control your temper, you are doing something very good for them. You are demonstrating to them that there are other ways that they can deal with their anger. The story is told of a little boy who had a very terrible temper, and his father decided that he would help him by giving him a bucket of nails and a hammer, and he would allow him to hammer away at the back fence. And he did this. And when he was through hammering away, his father had him pull every nail out. And of course, we know the nail left damage. And he asked him what he learned. And of course, he learned that sometimes when we do things in anger, we cause hurt. So when you demonstrate for your children how to calm down, how to control your temper, you are showing them the right way. If you do it well, if you demonstrate calming down and cooling down when you're upset about something in the healthy way, you're doing something good for your child, because your child is learning by observing you, the parent. So demonstrate for them how to control the temper, how you can calm down when you're upset, how you don't blow off the top every time. Very important. Be willing to apologize. Now, this is a very ticklish one for many parents. Not many of us are going to apologize to our children. And some of you may not agree with me, but be willing to apologize to your child. As a parent, we're not always right. We make mistakes. We say things, we do things that may cause a child to be hurt. And there's nothing wrong with apologizing, because when you apologize to the child, what you're teaching the child is that there are other ways to resolve problems and that we ought to apologize if we know that we are in the wrong. Yes, we're demonstrating, we're modeling for the child what we expected them to do. So don't be afraid to apologize. Be willing to apologize to your child. Sometimes as parents, in your anger, in your frustration, you may say something hurtful, you may do something, you may not take the child's word, and the child is truly telling what that really happened. When you find out that you were wrong, be willing to apologize. You're doing wonders for your child by doing this. And of course, it'll be easier for them to fess up and apologize when they are wrong. Very important that you're humble and are willing to apologize. Encourage helping and sharing. Now, in our last presentation, we spoke about, as the teacher, how you could help your student by having them engage in community service. In the family, we can do the same. Encourage helping and sharing. You have a neighbor who is in need. You talk with your child about how others may feel who are going through a rough patch. You provide for them opportunities that they can come with you and they can get engaged in different programs of outreach. You can help a person in need, whatever it is. Provide for them the opportunity to help and to share. They may have toys that they are no longer in need of, but there's a child who is in need. Have them share. Provide for them that opportunity. Have them engage in these kinds of things. Because in doing this, you're empowering them and you're helping them to be able to empathize with others and to reach out to others and to be citizens that, of course, can make this world a better place. And of course, they will also learn to appreciate what they have when they see that others may not be as privileged as themselves. So there are many things that we can do as families to continue SEL at home. And there are many things that we can do as teachers, as educators, to incorporate the families, to get them involved in making sure that the SEL program is successful, not just in school, but also at home. Because ultimately, we want to make sure that our students leave the classroom being competent, being able to handle their emotions, being able to express themselves, being able to empathize, being able to understand the needs of others, and understand also that everything that they do and say has an implication. The choices that they make has some sort of consequence. So parents, teachers, let us do our part to ensure that we continue to empower our students so that they can be the best versions of themselves. Finally, the SEL competencies are designed to be an additive model rather than replace skills taught by families and communities. So parents, we're not trying to undo what you're doing. We are trying to be a partner with you to ensure that your child is a holistic human being. We will do our part, and we encourage you to do your part as we work together for the success of our students, your children. Thank you.
Educators, what a treat this was. I promised you that it would have been a treat, and it was a treat. Listening in and hearing some of the tips that we can utilize in our schools, in our classrooms, to engage families and to build relationships. Because most of what we do, we must know that the home and the school, they go hand in hand. And so whatever is done at school, it needs to be continued at home as well. But parents cannot do it at home. If as educators, as school administrators, as teachers, we do not invite them into a space where they can understand what is it that they need to do to help our lives at school be better as we teach their child or their children. Educators, it is never too late for a shower of rain. We all know that saying. And yes, the school year ended, but then we're looking forward to another school year in another month or so. And so as we plan to go back to school, let us put in some of these videos and some of these information that we have been receiving. Let us put them into practice, put them into our lesson plans, put them into our professional development sessions at school, so that teachers can benefit, and by teachers benefiting, they'll be able to carry over this practice into their classroom. I want to thank Mrs. Tamarie Johnson-Williams so much for being our guest feature for this month as we looked at SEL, the classroom, and in the school community at large, and what is it that SEL entails. I also would like to say to you educators, as we approach August, we'll be having an interesting lineup of principals who will be sharing with us how it is that they have planned effectively during COVID and what they're looking forward to at the end as we move past COVID, and we'll still maybe be having it going on, but how will they adjust their sales, and what tips can they give to others to adjust their sales as well. Educators, I want to thank you so much for joining, for tuning in, for listening, for sharing, for commenting. Thank you, and I trust that you'll have a great week ahead.